not giving up on the MCAS.
I didn't think
actually
so.
not given that option.
I didn't think so.
The state has given
That's one
us
side of it.
the state's given us direction on that. The MCAS test that will be taken next year will be based on the places where the old frameworks and the new frameworks overlap. And then, because the state can't help itself, and a few other things from the old frameworks. But we basically are going with the new Common Core. We feel that that covers what was in the previous one, and it takes us in the direction we want to go to. And for example, you heard from the math people. If you look at the difference in the Common Core, a lot of things have fallen away that were in math before. Some of the things that have been brought into the lower grade levels that weren't as important as the solid number sense, basic facts, computational skills, and really understanding number. So if we go with the new Common Core, we don't feel like we'll be having problems with the MCAS testing.
I knew you had a good answer to that, but I wanted to highlight that. It's going to be difficult.
Well, and eventually they will continue with the testing program for the schools. That's not going to go away. It's just kind of tweaking it to match now the new Common Core. We've been going to meetings at the state level for the last, 6 months at least. And, just trying to get firsthand what are those changes coming down the road, and then how we're going to adjust what we already have. And in no way would I say that what we have is not substantial or not rigorous enough. It's simply that they're putting the focus in other areas, shifting from one grade level to another. So obviously our teachers need to get that message that that's coming. So we're going from people like the leadership group and ourselves who go to these meetings to then bring it back to then pass it to all the teachers so that everybody's on the same page in a year or two. But no, the tests are still going to be around. How they use the tests, that's going to be a different story because we haven't heard that one yet.
There'll be the test will be completely revised by 2014-15.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Thank you. And scheduling update for the high school and the middle school.
As you know, we have been working on the schedules. I know the last time we were here, we had asked the schools to provide an idea of where they were at. I had asked, for example, Mrs. Tudelo to take a look at using the staff that we have, which was a caveat that I gave her to adhere to. Can we investigate the idea of running back to a block schedule? Because we've seen some instances where we believe the block schedule was giving us more advantages than the current schedule. So it was one of those things. Can you put both schedules side by side, which made a lot of work for her. I got to give her credit, and the staff that worked with her. And I think at this point, we're ready to suggest that we say we've tried it in the small period schedule system. It didn't do as well for us as we'd hope. We think, in particular, because we have a smaller 9th grade class coming in, that we should be able to go back to a block schedule and not have to add additional staff, which was one of my biggest concerns. We've put the two side by side. We think we can do it. So at this point, it's one of those suggestions that we would like to make and get the royal blessing. Basically, that's our recommendation. At the middle school, we have a schedule. There's still a few kinks to be worked out. I'm asking the administration to work with the teachers to now go down to almost the individual student level in those schedules, so that then we can take a look at who are the staff that are going to be needed to support those students in those particular classes. So, for example, it's not as simple as to say third period is going to be social studies for this group of 8th graders. It's going to be in this group of 8th graders, there's these students are going to be in 4th period for social studies, who's going to help those students? And do we have the staff, and is the staff going to be available at that time to do this? Like I said, I don't want to go into the fall and find out that we don't have enough staff and then we're caught. So if we're going to do any movement of staff, I'm hoping to get this done before we go off in June. So my hope is that parents will get in the report cards, here's your students' schedule, at least at the high school. The elementary school will be like, here's your teacher. Middle school, here's your homeroom. But for our purposes, we need it to be at the point of saying, we know where the kids are going to be that have needs, and we have the support staff in place.
So at the middle school, the hope is they'll be going back to a homeroom, then it sounds like in the morning.
That's one of the changes, would be to bring homeroom to the morning. At one point in time, we put it into the middle of the year, like it was middle of the day, like it was here at the high school, in an attempt to see if we could lower the number of tardies. We'll have to work with the parents on the tardy issue because it didn't change. Okay. Instead, what it ended up doing is whoever had first period class, those kids would be missing a chunk of the instruction. So again, you try certain things to try to get the parents to work with you, but sometimes it doesn't work.
Well, certainly you have my blessing on the block scheduling here at the high school. I know from personal experience, it just didn't seem to work as well as, no schedule is perfect, and I understand that, and kudos to Mrs. Tudelo, because I know scheduling is got to be a headache, trying to place all those teachers, classes, kids, electives, you name it. It is not, that can't be pretty and easy to do. So if she's found a way to make it work, kudos to her, for sure. Eric?
Is there enough time now that you're switched for the students to all pick their classes? Like, has there been a drop dead date that we've passed or anything?
I'll let her answer that question. This is one of the reasons why we wanted to get it done now before the end, because we didn't want to do that over the summer.
The same thing happened last year, I think, didn't it? They had to flip, though, go from block schedule to this schedule.
When students selected their courses earlier in the spring, on the selection ballot, we had them select enough electives so that in the event that we went back, we could go to the form without necessarily having to make sure we got back to the student.
Okay. Good.
Excellent.
So now it's just a matter of plugging everyone in and...
Correct.
Will it be, are you looking, or are you not even there yet? Are you thinking the same as what you did 2 years ago, or are you modifying from there?
I think overall it will look very similar to what we had 2 years ago. I think that what might not have been clear to some people before was that there was support and opportunities for students across the spectrum, for the higher end students, especially now as we're looking to expand our AP classes and offerings, but also to students needing intervention or remediation. I'm not sure that was clear to people before, but that is available.
Good.
And we'll,
any other comments, questions, thoughts?
I have a question.
Mike?
So if I'm understanding, at the end of June, high school seniors will find out what their schedule is, and if there's any concerns, they'll get in touch with you.
The juniors going to be seniors next year.
Well, hopefully.
Okay. I just wanted to...
Unless
the seniors now are gone.
Yeah, next year's seniors.
We don't want them back.
they do.
So the end of June.
We'll see
And
them
then
Saturday.
during the summer, there are days when the guidance counselors come into work, and so those are opportunities for parents and students to come in to make adjustments. But during the summer, anytime a parent calls or they just drop in, if they have a question or want to make a change, usually there to take care of that.
Yeah, and I asked because I remember when we made the shift in the past, and it changed the available classes, and there was some outcry of not having classes that were within their plan for the 4-year
But now
program.
going back to the 8 classes, they clearly have
There'll
more
be more
opportunities.
Great, that's good to hear.
That's
Thank
very
you.
good to hear.
It will, however, because we're going back to the block schedule, no schedule, and we wanted to make this very clear. Neither schedule is ever perfect.
And I said that myself. Yeah.
We have, we're going to see some of the idiosyncrasies of a block schedule that works on a semester basis come back to the play in terms of, it could be that students skip almost a whole year in terms of going back to a sequence of courses that they may need to take. But it does open up some opportunities for students to have additional courses that they want to take built into their 4 years at the high school. So you're still going to see that not everybody is ever completely happy, but I think from the point of view of the academics, what we're seeing, I'm hoping it'll bring us back to where we were in terms of not having as many students ineligible, having more students with more opportunities for electives, and that's our hope, that we can go back to them.
Good. Thank you.
I was just speaking from the perspective of a teacher. I would just say let's pick one and stick with it.
And I agree with you. That was going to be mine.
I can imagine at the end of the year. Okay, what should I think about getting ready for next year?
Your chance.
And I do have to say this, and I said this to the superintendent this morning, that if we're going this way, then we have to commit to sticking to it, because we can't every year be doing a different schedule.
Well, I think last year the biggest reason for it was the cuts. People cuts.
And it's one of those things, I will say it again one more time. If we want to commit to these kind of things for next year or for the future, we need to start thinking about how we're going to fund the needs of the district. I mean, we may have some funds this year and in next year's, but I can tell you, right now, I'm looking at over $300,000 worth of deficit already built into the following year's budget. So if we're going to say next year we're going to have the block schedule and you want it back the following year, we're ready, before we even start next year's budget, are talking about at least $350,000 worth of deficit. So, and that's not considering salary increases or anything of the sort. So looking long term, this school, this district, is going to probably need an override. And I know I'm talking about it, and we just put one budget to bed. We're not even open the other one. I'm already talking about it. And that is what it's going to take. So I don't want to sit here and promise that we're going in that direction. I'm saying I'm willing to work on that, but we need the resources. If we have to cut back again, I'm not sure what we're going to have.
Dr. Colley, block scheduling requires more staff or less staff?
It depends on the number of students that we have at the high school. And it depends what kind of students we have. Because you could have a whole set of students that, if they don't have major needs, you don't need additional staff. But the minute those students move in, you can't send them away. You have to service them. So sometimes that is what it requires. And the more students you have, the more sections you have, the more spread out the students become. Therefore, the more services you need to provide in many more classrooms. That's what sometimes creates the needs for more staff. So as we looked at it, one of the questions was, can we do it without adding staff for next year? Because we don't have it. But in the future, I can't promise that that's going to be the case.
Part of the reason for the shift too was to share teachers between schools, which really
and if we, I wish we could have